Ahsoka. What is the current state of Star Wars? That's pretty much it on today's episode of Breaking Geek Radio, the podcast.
Hello and welcome to Breaking Geek Radio, the podcast, the premier flagship and international podcast of LRM Online. I'm your host, Brandon Jones, and on this week's podcast, we got myself and Joseph Jammer Medina to talk about a show called Ahsoka, about the premier female in the Star Wars universe. We kicked out the ladies. It's just going to be us dudes, all the testosterone talking about Ahsoka.
I didn't even think about that.
I think about it all the time. So we're going to have a conversation about Ahsoka. We're going to review the season. We have disparate thoughts, so stay tuned for those thoughts. And we're going to talk about, as Jammer said, the state of Star Wars based on that. So let's get into it. Let's give our letter grade review of the entirety of the season. Let's go. Jammer, you go first.
So we're just going to give our quick review and then jump straight into spoilers right afterwards. Review, quick, I'm just letting you setting expectations here before we jump into it. It's a little bit. All right. I'm not talking specifically to you. I'm talking to the audience as well. You're not the only one here, Jonesy.
You're the only one that matters.
So I would say for Ahsoka, for me was an aggressively mediocre yet oftentimes visually beautiful entry in the Star Wars franchise that drives home that the series may or may not be for me going forward.
Okay.
And I give it a C-.
Ooh, goddamn. Coming in hot. I'm going to give it a B+. I think that there is a lot of potential here. I'm giving it a B+ based off of the fact that generally it kept my interest more so than the last couple of seasons of Mandalorian. It doesn't hit Andor levels, but this is definitely,
even though I haven't seen Andor.
You haven't seen Andor. You know what I'm talking about. But it's definitely entertaining. I think the worst part about it is, at least for me, I think that had I not seen Clone Wars or Rebels, I would not have enjoyed it as much as I did.
And that is my first problem with the series. So we'll just jump right into the many issues that I had with it. This show didn't explain a goddamn thing.
No.
And I hate that with a passion. So I did not watch the Clone Wars. I did not watch Rebels. And I've tried. I've given each of them about 5 to 6 episodes, and I just don't like them. They have a tone that just I don't like. And so I'm like, all right, I'm not going to go back and watch a show that I don't like in order to understand a show that I also kind of don't like. So for me, what it was is there were a lot of things, there were a lot of pre-established relationships, and I was hoping they'd give us a little bit more other than people just talking about what had happened before. But all they did was just talk about what happened before, even though it really made no sense for them to talk about it because they all knew all the things. So it's like they were kind of willing to tell us some things or at least hint at something, but also not willing to do it in a good way that actually made sense and actually did the job that it was supposed to do. There was the whole point of the series was about like Grand Admiral Thrawn stopping Grand Admiral Thrawn from fucking what? What is he doing? What is his plan, Jonesy?
He's the heir to the Empire, baby. Like,
what does that mean? What does that mean?
He is the person that takes over after Palpatine. So
what does that mean? I could take over after Palpatine. What makes him the heir to the Empire?
Well, if you look at the end of this, he kind of sounds like Anakin, right? He talks about security for the galaxy, the Empire, and things of that nature. Like, he's a very security-minded individual. If you read the novels and see kind of his backstory, all of it is he made a deal with the Emperor so he could protect his people, the Chiss. So the whole idea was, I'm going to work for you, Emperor Palpatine, and I'm going to stop you from destroying our little corner of the galaxy, which that's kind of an interesting thing that I wish they had delved into more.
Yeah, I would wish any of that was explored. If they had like gone back and maybe done flashbacks.
They do it in the cartoon.
That doesn't mean anything to me. That means nothing to me. That's poor storytelling.
That's like, is it? But that's the thing. It's kind of like we're at the point now, because we're at a point where everything is just interconnected media. It just is. So what you're railing against isn't necessarily the poor storytelling of this itself. This is just where we are. You've got to watch every Marvel thing.
It's stupid. It's stupid because the reason why
I get not liking it.
Well, it's because like this was something that was created, however many years ago. It was geared. It was off its own world, doing its own thing.
9 years ago,
and it was created as its own separate thing, separate from the live action stuff. It's now been it's been live action, and now rather than get live action audiences up to speed, they're just like, I'm just going to continue forward. And I'm like, okay, well, this is not good. This is just not good.
That's almost like saying I don't understand what's happening in the sequel trilogies. Who's Luke? Who's Han? Who's Leia? It's like, well, you've got to watch this 30-year-old movie.
That's different.
Because this 30. No, it's not.
It's episode 6, 7, and 8.
It's not that different. That's not that different. If you are older than,
it's a different medium.
If you're younger than 30 years old,
it's a different medium. If it was a video game and then going into it, I would say that it's not.
No, but it's still a thing you watch on your television. So I hear what you're saying, but I guess I'm thinking of it. It's less about being animated versus being, because you could do that with anything, right? You could say like, well, why are they making Firefly into a movie? Like, I don't understand anything about what happened. Mm-hmm. Wait, did you watch the show? This is a thing that happened on television. So but
there wasn't a whole separate series that led up or separate movie series that led up to Serenity.
But there was
no movie series. That's because
what I'm saying is
two separate mediums converging.
But is different from the thing you're talking about is apples and oranges. What I'm talking about is it's all different types of media, like whether it's a television show that became a movie or something of that nature. It's all kind of the same thing. I take your perspective that it's annoying that you had to have watched all of that stuff to get it and understand it.
Well, to be fair, it's more about I can understand the basics. I just didn't give a fuck. Did not care.
That's fair.
Therefore I was not invested. And that is a problem.
As someone that did watch it, my frustration was there were such significant changes that weren't explained about how they acted. So like Ezra was pretty much Ezra, but Sabine, I think, was the biggest change in the show where she was like a dumb teenager. She kept making the same stupid fucking mistakes throughout the course of the show. It was very frustrating. Yeah, in Ahsoka, I'm sorry. And throughout the course of the show, she wasn't really shown to be that naive and dumb and all of that stuff. And it just made for some really weird plot points where she basically sold out the galaxy. And I think I have an overarching frustration with this that doesn't have anything to do with it jumping from animation to live action. It's more about the fact that there's just no consequences, at least as far as we know, for what Sabine did. And so look at what makes it hard is you've got Anakin, who did this thing for safety and security of the galaxy to save his wife, this person that he loves, and these children that he doesn't even know are born yet. Sabine sold out an entire galaxy for something similar. And, to quote Penguin, she didn't lose an eye, fucking bladder control, nothing. And I just hate that there are no consequences for that. And Anakin just fell to the dark side doing that. And for her, it's just like, it's fine.
You know what this kind of feels like? It kind of feels like
Ray.
As a writer, you sometimes know that your characters are making a decision that readers will not like because it's what they personally wouldn't do. And it's almost as this sort of be like, no, it's okay. It worked out. And then some people are like, okay, well, it worked out, so it doesn't bother me anymore. It almost feels like they were doing that.
It is less to me. It is less to me about what I think the person would do. It's frustrating because there's so much Anakin in this show. It's a constant reminder of the fact that this guy fell to the dark side for doing something almost as bad. Again, she betrayed her master. She betrayed a galaxy to bring back a known threat. And there are just no consequences for her. And I don't like
a known
that.
Threat that I know nothing about, even though I've watched this entire series. Right. I don't understand what he was doing. I don't understand what his deal was with the witches. Like, what was he doing? Was he just standing? Was he just standing and walking around in that fucking white suit for years? What was he doing? What was happening? Why were all
Yeah.
these stormtroopers welded together? Who are these people? Why are these people? Why is Gamora?
So they're not
Like, all these questions
they're
I'm
not
asking.
welded together. So there are a couple of things to that. I can explain it, but it'll probably
I
take
just
longer
don't.
than
No,
we
I
really
don't
start
care.
talking.
It's not where the point is. The frustration is there that this was not explained and it made no sense in the context of somebody who has never watched anything other than the live action series prior to this. Now, another issue I had with this was, I have a lot of issues. As I mentioned, very beautiful composition, set design, and costumes. All that stuff looks great. This show does not look cheap at all. Very expensive looking show. Like, it looks like I could imagine seeing this in a theater.
It looks great
in terms of visuals. Yeah, it looks fantastic. It's probably the best looking Star Wars show that I've seen. No,
You need to
not
watch
better
Andor.
I watched the
Andor
first
looks
episode
amazing.
of Andor. It
No,
looked
no.
okay.
Well, what? No, because they use real sets. There's no volume stuff. Like, it looks great.
Yeah, that's fine. But anyways, this show I thought pretty good. This show looked good, but it had the same problem that the prequel trilogies had. It was in two modes throughout the whole time. Mode number 1, we stand around and just talk. We don't move. We don't do anything. We also talk in monotone. We don't have personalities. We'll get into that a little bit later. Mode 2, action scene that I don't care about because the stakes haven't been established, and it's usually towards a MacGuffin and not towards an emotional resonant climax. So it's just like fight for a MacGuffin, which look pretty cool, but I'm just not emotionally invested and don't care, or standing around and talking like we're in the prequel trilogy. There's almost no in between. There's no Aaron Sorkin walk and talks. There's nothing sort of visually stimulating as you're walking through. Things don't keep going like they do in a J.J. Abrams movie. Like, it's not, for lack of a better term, cinematic in the way it's written. And that is a problem.
And so, to your point that you made on Discord, this is a love letter to the prequel trilogy. So this is an amalgamation of the prequel trilogy plus everything that Dave Filoni did in Rebels and Clone Wars. And as somebody that revered the prequel trilogy so much, did you watch that explainer?
Yeah, I've watched that years ago. I hate it because it's the same thing you said, where it's all about taking the intent rather than the execution. I think this goes into my problem. Another problem I have, everything that I've seen of Filoni's is heavily plot and mythology based. That is it. What are we adding to the plot? What are we adding to the mythology? That's it. We don't care about character because these characters don't do shit. Yeah, like they don't do anything else. Like, it's just like, what cool thing? Like, it's basically like a Wikipedia page. It's like, what cool Wikipedia thing can we enter here that expands the lore of Star Wars and just adds more things to it and just is cool that we can see the little connections from the previous trilogy. It's all about connections. It's all about plot, which ironically enough, I watched the show and I was like, nothing fucking happened in this show.
Yeah,
nothing happened.
Season.
Nothing happened. Like, I remember, like, where I was like, Kirsten, I was like, you want to watch it? We're like on episode 5. I'm like, I could summarize it in 30 seconds what's happened because nothing has happened. Literally, this, and this. That's it. That's all you need to know. And yeah, I was on episode 7 and 8, and I was like, I could still summarize this in 30 seconds or 45 seconds. Nothing has happened this entire show. So it's somehow very heavily plot mythology based. All the while, nothing has happened. I don't understand it. And then let's talk about characters. Arcs. There's the episode 5, which was a great episode in the show, where there's that flashback and stuff, and with Ahsoka and Anakin, I'm like, ooh, there's a lot of cool stuff happening there. It resonates, but it again seems to be all about intent rather than execution. Speaking of execution, what the hell did Ahsoka learn from that flashback that brought her back to life? Other than, I'm going to fight. The fuck does that mean? What made you want to fight? Who cares? What did you learn? What was your arc, Ahsoka? Sabine, what was your arc? Did any of this matter? The answer is no. No one grew. Nothing happened.
So I
don't
tell
care.
you that. I can tell you what their arcs are. So and we'll probably have to move on after this.
Yeah.
But I do think that the arc is this. Ahsoka needed to learn to be a better master, right? And it was about fighting for her Padawan's point of view, the same way that Anakin started or always believed in her, right? So she said that. Sabine's
and I didn't see that approach. I saw him saying, you need to fight or die. That's what I saw. Like, basically, you need to do what I tell you or die. That's what I saw. But
yeah. And then Sabine's was this. Huyang said they're better together, right? And so she needed to come to terms with that. And so you saw at the end, instead of going with Ezra on the ship, she stayed behind to help Ahsoka defeat Morgan and those the troopers that showed up. So I think that she understood that they had to be together. So
I will say, positive side, Hu Yang was great. He was the best part of the show.
Him also, and Chopper. I love Chopper.
Him and Chopper were great. Chopper. I also really liked Ezra. I liked Ezra. Like he didn't get a lot to do, but just the way he carries himself and his personality, I'm like, okay, I like this dude. Like I like him a lot. So I think like, overall the casting I think was fine. They just have such a wooden script, and the way they talk, I just hate that. It's just hard to get good performances. They legit got prequel performances out of grade A actors.
Yes. Yeah. And I don't know what you would expect from a guy that reveres the prequel trilogy that much.
Yeah.
Right. Somebody who is like, again, I'll say this, for that explainer that he did of the prequel trilogy, there was like half a second where you're like, oh, were they actually good? You're like, no. Wait, no. He's just like completely extracting what Lucas's intent was, which is fantastic. It's a fantastic explainer. I love it. I wish I had seen what he's talking about on screen.
I think anyone that believes the prequel trilogy was some master plan, if they go and watch the episode 1 documentary, that'll put that to rest right then and there, when Lucas himself is like, I may have gone a bit too far. And when he makes choices for casting and everyone else in the room on camera, is just like episode, you can't explain it. It's a mess, and there's a lot of issues there, and people that headcanon the issues away into some sort of grand plan they're just delusional.
And
you heard it here first. Filoni's delusional.
They keep it George Lucas, or people or fans are delusional.
No. He said away. Whoever. Yeah, he said whoever headcanons away.
Filoni.
I did the thing
from the fans.
You did. You're right. You did the thing. I missed it. Well, this is a good transition to the state of Star Wars. Every single new project comes out, there's a new state of Star Wars in terms of where things currently are. Ironically enough, I feel like when Andor came out, everyone who saw it loved it, but not enough people saw it for that to like make a great impact. I feel like not a lot of people actually checked out that show, which is unfortunate because apparently it's very good. I haven't seen it. But I like to kind of circle back.
Yeah, you're part of the problem.
I am part of the problem. That's true. I want to circle back to, you're also part of the problem. You're promoting Ahsoka, giving it B pluses, like whatever.
It is good. I enjoyed it.
I'm sure you did. I was literally at any point in the show, if you had said that to me, we're not going to cover Ahsoka, I would be like, great, never picking that up again. I could have done that at any point when I was watching the show, and I would not have missed anything.
That is 100% because I am invested in all of these characters. I've watched all of it. This is nothing but live action Rebels.
Well, here's what they should do. 100%. Hey, Filoni, come over here. Come closer. Use some of that time where you have characters slowly walking from one side of the screen to the other, or slowly just maneuvering things. Take all 2 episodes worth of content of that you have throughout the 8-episode series and find a way to get new audiences reinvested into these new characters instead. That would have been helpful. That's my advice. Okay, so the state of Star Wars. I want to refer back to an April Fool's joke I made on the LRM site. I don't know, it's 5 or 6 years ago at this point.
Oh my god.
The joke I made was that Disney is no longer going to produce Star Wars content. Instead, will be performing monthly updates on Wikipedia for people to enjoy. At this point, that's what I feel like Ahsoka was. It wasn't a story as much as it was. A child. Okay. It is not a story as much as it is adding bits of plot and mythology that people can obsess over and talk about how the connections were made. What?
You know what I thought you meant by that? Like projects that are coming out and projects that are canceled. I thought that's
no,
what you meant.
No. I meant specifically just upgrading mythology, Pottermoring it, as it were.
A Wookiee. Yeah,
a Wikipedia. The Wikipedia, exactly.
Yeah.
The joke was actually the Wikipedia, but I forgot until this moment. So Wikipedia.
Oh, okay. You're welcome.
And it feels to me like that is what Star Wars is slowly becoming. It is not about archetypal storytelling that, is really based in core innate human emotions. It's about tying in specific plot and mythology in universe into itself so that it's satisfying for people who have been following it for all these years. Now, clearly, that's worked for you. Great. I'm happy for you. To me, Ahsoka isn't egregiously bad. Ahsoka, to me, was just aggressively mediocre and boring. And as a result, I'm like, okay, you know what? Whatever this part of Star Wars is not for me. And I think we need to be better at being like, okay, this isn't for me. Will I give the next Star Wars project a chance? Probably. Like, I'm not going to swear off and say Star Wars isn't for me. I'm done. I'm not one of those people. I'll check out the next project. I'll check out the next project. I'll check out the next project. And on a one-by-one basis, kind of see, is this something that's going to appeal to me? Or is this something that's appealing more to people who have been, who care more about mythology and people standing around talking more than me?
Jammer, the next ones coming up are Skeleton Crew, which
don't know what that means.
It is the one with kids on a
series.
And Jude Law, right? Jude Law, I think it is.
As soon as you said kids, I'm out.
Yeah. I'm thinking they're going to try to do Stranger Things with Star Wars. Oh God.
Oh, you kind of sold me on that.
I know exactly. You're gonna eat it up. You're gonna love it and call it the greatest thing ever because you're an awful person.
No. That will forever be the Last Jedi.
And then the Acolyte. So.
The Acolyte, I think, is going to tie into the Filoniverse, if not mistaken. Is that correct, or is that its own thing?
Thought it was Visions.
It is. No, the Acolyte is its own thing. It's set 100 years prior to Episode 1, so at the tail end of the High Republic.
Okay, that sounds cool. So those two projects sound like something I'd be interested in at least checking out. Whether or not it actually works, that remains to be seen. So maybe it's just about the Filoni specific projects that I'm just not about. That could just be it. And like we said with Marvel, at this point, sometimes there are just parts of it that don't appeal to you. And that's going to be okay. It'll appeal to somebody else. Just like, God, somehow the prequels appeal to other people. And those people exist, and that's okay that they get what they want. Jonesy, it's okay that you get what you want as someone who apparently can tolerate prequel level acting and scripts, but that's fine.
I like Revenge of the Sith. I don't know what to tell you.
What are your thoughts in terms of the current state of Star Wars from your perspective?
I think we're at a point with media generally where we just have to pick and choose. Again, we've talked about this with the MCU, where like I had the exact same feeling as you did when I watched Ms. Marvel. I was like,
to be fair, I picked up Ms. Marvel again. The second half is stronger than the first half, and I actually really like Ms. Marvel now. But I get your point. Your point stands.
Yeah, it's just that, at some point you're just like, all of these projects aren't for me. And so you're diluting the brand. And it makes sense to me that this is true of everything that Disney makes now, where they are pushing so much content to try and get people for Disney Plus that they're just pushing stuff out. And so it's hard to think about these archetypal stories and these things that are going to go in this interconnected universe when you're really just shoveling things out there to make sure that you have enough content for your streaming service.
In Filoni's defense, with regards to Star Wars, everything he makes reeks of passion. So there's that.
Yeah, it's not cynical. It's not for a cash grab. But I really enjoyed Andor. I like Ahsoka slightly less, but again, I think my enjoyment of it is bolstered by the fact that I've just been steeped in the stuff that Filoni has done.
I wish I could get into the Star Wars, the Clone Wars, because for me, I love animation. I tried. I really did try. We gave it a good shot, and it just didn't click with me. I don't know. I just didn't. I didn't like it.
Well, here's the thing. As much as I liked those, I'm at the point where I don't really give a shit about Bad Batch anymore. It's really frustrating because the things that I like about that show, they don't do enough. I like the Bad Batch the least on that show, and every time they move away from them and show the rest of the universe and what's going on, I'm like, oh, this is really interesting. And then they have to go back to Omega and the Bad Batch. I'm like, that's right. I don't care about anything that's happening here. So I get it from that perspective. And what that just tells me is that Just got to pick and choose. But what I like about that is that means that there's enough for everybody, right? There is stuff out there where if you like Slow Horses, which is a spy thriller on Apple TV, or some other kind of like spy drama, Andor is right there for you. If you like the prequel trilogies, or if you like Filoni generally, then you've got Ahsoka and all that other stuff. So what I like about it is that the tent is kind of growing, and I get that bothers some people. But I also think that means that there's something for everybody. Because like you said, it's not bad. So yeah, that's my perspective on it.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's almost like what I envisioned the future of, streaming TV to be, and what it kind of has been for anime for a while. It's not about getting something that appeals to everybody. It's about getting something that appeals to a really specific niche, but appealing to everybody within that niche.
Yeah.
And it's about kind of targeting what those specific audiences are, even within Star Wars, and then fulfilling that promise to them. And like I said, not for me, but I'm happy that you and other people seem to like it. Good for you. It's just not for me.
I will say this. What I wish is that the sequel trilogy never existed, and they were allowed to tell this story in a much tighter way. Because what I do, if there was another gig that I had on this series, besides the lack of consequences for Sabine, I think pacing was a problem. And if you could tighten up some of these episodes, I think this would have been better off. So I would have rather see Ahsoka as the main character of a sequel trilogy and all of this other stuff that happened, rather than what we got.
That's fair. I can see that.
Yeah.
Or would that be a sequel trilogy? Would you have been interested in seeing her in a sequel trilogy, or in a parallel original trilogy, or a series parallel to what happens in the original trilogy? Because honestly, I forgot what freaking timeline are we on in this series. I forget.
So I think it depends on what you call it, right? So if you're saying this is part of the the Skywalker films, then it probably wouldn't be, or it could be, right? Because what you would pitch it as, this is the legacy of Anakin Skywalker, because she is his last Padawan. So she gets to see what happens. You get to see what happens with her. You get to see what happens with Luke.
You would do that with Luke Skywalker existing alive. She would be Anakin's legacy, not Luke.
Listen, I'm one of those. So listen, I give zero fucks about Luke.
Don't poke holes in Swiss cheese.
I don't care about Luke, and so that's part of it. I
don't care about Ahsoka.
Frustration. Well, part of my frustration is this: like, I think you can move beyond those characters and still include them without feeling the need to kill them all off. And I think that was my frustration ultimately with the sequel trilogy. Like, you want them to be transitional characters without them necessarily being the main characters. And here's the thing, Kyle, what sucks about it is the thing that you're saying is Disney's fault. The same way that they fucked up with Harrison Ford, there were years where they could have made sequels to Indiana Jones. That's their own fucking fault. And they want to do it when he's 80 something years old. They could have made sequels where Mark Hamill was young enough to do what you're talking about. We're past
Disney
that.
couldn't do that.
No, Disney couldn't have done that. And I'm not saying, I was never one.
What do you mean couldn't have done it?
They didn't have the rights until 2012.
Anybody.
Okay,
Disney, anybody.
That's on Lucas.
What I'm saying is we're past that point. Yeah. So if we're going to make a film that's a sequel to that, like, either we're recasting or we're done. And I don't think people would have wanted to recast.
Right. And that's part of the issue is with what they're doing with the way the sequel trilogy is set, and there's so much set in stone, and it's such a relative short time to get there, and they're trying to fill in these gaps. By all means, if you were making the sequel trilogy today, it shouldn't have been set between it shouldn't have been set so close after episode 6 because of Luke's stuff. No one's just going to buy following something labeled 7 through 9 with them still being alive and not even mentioning it.
Yeah, I must try to understand what you said.
Where it's like an Avengers thing. Where are the Avengers where there's this world-ending crisis happening? Gotcha. So he's saying, like, where Han, Luke, and Leia, where are the Avengers during Thrawn just showing up?
Well, Senator Organa was
right.
Wait, so when did this take place? I didn't. care to look it
It
up?
takes place shortly after the fall of Endor. Well, actually, no, it takes place.
This is we're now
years after.
about 7-8 years after Return of the Jedi for this series.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought so. All right, that makes sense.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's right after, but what I forgot was Sabine was
Mandalorian.
telling. Sabine was telling Ezra the story of what happened. I was like, oh wait, no, that was years ago.
Also,
in that
how
timeline.
long ago did Rebels take place?
About that time. So shortly after he left is when they defeated the Empire.
It's just weird because the characters still seem pretty young, and they act like it's been so long. I'm like, has it been?
Yeah,
6
it's been
months?
like 9. No, it's been like 9 or 10 years.
But Sabine Wren looks like she's 18 or something. How old is she in the series? How old is
Teenager.
Sabine Wren in this?
Teenager. And this, I don't know, but she was probably like a teenager.
Okay.
So she's probably in her mid to late 20s in this.
Okay, I guess that makes sense. I guess she just acted younger than.
And by
She
young, you
acted
mean
young.
dumb.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, I remember when she made that decision in the show. I'm like, why?
Which one?
The one where she decided not to stop
The one where she
Beard-
decided to
Beard
steal the
Man.
map, or the one where she decided to give the map
to
to
hand over,
Beard Man?
give the
Or
map
one-
to them,
Oh, okay.
give the map,
Or the
to
one where she
bearded man.
decided to make the deal with Thrawn, or the one like there are any number of decisions. I'm like, what are you doing? You're not going to tell Ezra that there's people on the planet coming to kill you when he's got
Oh, yeah.
these little turtle things
and all these things. She's
What
like,
the
let's
fuck?
not talk about it right now.
Let's not talk
Like-
about it. They're coming to kill you right now. You're just gonna be quiet.
Also,
okay.
I hate the fact that she goes and finds him in 5 seconds when apparently they were like a hop skip away from Thrawn, and Thrawn apparently couldn't find Ezra.
She got the force,
And she
man.
found him
got the
instantly.
Force.
Instantly.
They got
Took
the
5
connection.
seconds. It took her less time to find him than it did to get me my morning coffee this morning.
What do you, is there? I know it's bad because it's hard to tell what they're acting. Is it romantic tension, or are they
I don't
really brother and
care.
sister type?
Don't care.
I'm just curious. You don't care?
So I don't care. I do not care. So that's where I stand. That's the problem with this. I just don't care. You can convince me one way or another. Sure, it's romantic tension. Sure, they're brother and sister. It doesn't matter to me.
Okay. I enjoyed the show. Like, there are little things that, like, I love. There was this DiCaprio moment from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood where Hugh Yang is like, "Once upon a time in a galaxy far, far away." And
I thought that was cool. I thought that was cool.
I love that.
That was cool.
There were so many people that were like, "He said the thing.
Yeah.
Did the thing."
Yeah, like I like that part a lot.
Say the
Like I
line.
said, there are some parts where I'm like little moments that just felt really cool. I'm like, oh, that was good. Like I said, most of episode 5 I thought was really well done, and then I think that
Yeah.
was the episode 6 intro where he's like a long time ago in a galaxy far, far. Pretty much whenever Hu Yang is doing something is pretty great.
He was so awesome. And what I loved about that, I know it's probably not true, and it might be new headcanon, but it recontextualizes the beginning of every of the episode films, right? Hu Yang has been around for thousands of years. Is he the one telling all of these stories?
Okay, sure.
I
Like,
just
sure.
I just think it added like this extra.
I assumed
layer
it
of,
just
like,
it's
oh,
not
that's
him.
awesome.
I think that's probably just how each of the different mythologies are told. Each story is told in those mythologies, in the books, in the
Well-
archives that he reads from. Because he's reading from the
Okay.
archives. He's not just saying them.
But he also might have been there.
Oh,
That's what I'm saying.
but he
Like,
didn't
because
write-
of his age,
But he
might
didn't
have
write
been
the archives, though.
No, but I'm saying it recontextualizes, like, he might have seen some of this stuff firsthand, or like have it been reported to him as it happened.
Yeah, maybe.
So I don't know. That's cool. Anyway, that's it. I enjoy it.
So on that note,
Anyway,
I think we're
yes.
ready to close out this episode
close it.
of Bring Geek Radio the podcast. Jonesy, do your thing.
if you like what you heard, do all the socials, like, rate, comment, subscribe, share. I would love to hear what your thoughts are on Ahsoka. I've heard, I think Kyle, you said in Discord that the reviews of the show are generally mixed. Jump in there, get in that mixed bag. and tell us
Certainly
what you
felt
thought.
that here.
Do all the socials, like, rate, comment, subscribe, share. We would definitely appreciate it. Also, jump on YouTube and look at the stuff from the Genreverse, and jump on your web browser and look at the stuff on lrmonline.com. What?
Just the way you said it. Jump on your web browser. You sounded really
That's right.
old.
Get on
Surf
your
the
Netscape.
web.
Yeah, get on your Netscape and type in that wwws. All right, we'll catch you on the next one. Hasta lasagna.
Don't get any on you. Mission accomplished.